And I suspect that this is a moving picture, and we haven't seen the last act yet.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reacting after an armed uprising in Russia Saturday.
First of all, what we've seen is extraordinary, and I think you've seen cracks emerge that weren't there before.
A group of Russian mercenaries retreating from fighting in Ukraine and revolting against the Russian government. At one point, armed forces from the private military group marching towards Moscow.
In having Prigozhin raised front and center, questioning the very premises of the Russian aggression against Ukraine to begin with. The argument that somehow Ukraine or NATO posed a threat to Russia, and a direct challenge to Putin himself.
The most significant challenge to Vladimir Putin in his more than 2 decades in power, threatening to dive the country into chaos, an imminent bloodbath, and destabilize its war efforts in Ukraine.
This was really significant. It showed a demonstrable crack in the strength of Vladimir Putin at home. It was a visible rejection of his war policy by a guy who had been his ally, who clearly had gone insubordinate on him.
A crowd cheered as the head of the Wagner group and his troops pulled out of the Russian city of Rostov-on-Don late Saturday. The mercenary group had claimed to have seized key military sites in 2 Russian cities, forcing the Kremlin to deploy heavily armed troops in Moscow. But the conflict was short-lived. Late Saturday, the Kremlin said a deal had been reached to end the insurrection, a deal brokered by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko that would lead the head of the Wagner group being sent to Belarus, free from any criminal prosecution.
We've seen this aggression against Ukraine become a strategic failure across the board. Russia is now distracted that Putin has to worry about what's going on inside of Russia as much as he has to worry about what he's trying to do, not successfully, in Ukraine.